Across the globe, vital telecommunications infrastructure is being set ablaze. Cell towers, the very backbone of our modern connected world, are being torched by arsonists. Telecommunications engineers, the people who keep us connected, have been harassed, threatened, and physically assaulted. These aren't random acts of vandalism. They are the terrifying, real-world consequence of a shadowy narrative that is spread like wildfire online. The conspiracy theory linking 5G technology to a host of calamities, most notably the COVID-19 pandemic. To dismiss these attackers as just a few misguided individuals is to completely miss the point. To truly understand why someone would burn down a cell tower, we need to look past the flames and into the complex, powerful psychological currents that fuel such beliefs. Today on Fun Facts Online, we're exploring the unseen enemy, the psychology that turns technological progress into a sinister plot, and fear into destructive action. So what goes on in the mind of a believer? It's crucial to understand that belief in conspiracy theories is not a sign of low intelligence. Instead, it's often a misguided attempt to satisfy three fundamental human needs: epistemic, existential, and social. Let's break those down. First, epistemic motives. This is our deep-seated need to know, to understand the world, and to have certainty. When a massive, complex, and frightening event like the COVID-19 pandemic strikes, the official explanations can feel inadequate. A novel virus emerged naturally, and spread can feel random and unsatisfying. Conspiracy theories offer an alternative. They provide simple, clean, albeit false, explanations. The concurrent rollout of 5G technology provided a convenient scapegoat. The theory connected these two huge, separate events, creating an illusory pattern that seemed to explain the inexplicable. Our brains are pattern-seeking machines, a tendency called patternicity. We are so driven to find patterns that we often see them even in random noise. The 5G conspiracy provided a pattern that, for some, felt more coherent than the complex reality. Second, existential motives. This is our need to feel safe, secure, and in control of our lives. A global pandemic, economic instability, rapid technological change. These are massive, impersonal forces that can make us feel powerless and anxious. A conspiracy theory can offer a strange kind of comfort. By identifying a clear, tangible enemy to blame, a cabal of global elites using 5G to harm us, it externalizes the threat. It shifts the source of anxiety from random chaos to a malevolent plot. And if there's a plot, you can uncover it, you can fight it. This restores a feeling of control. Believing that powerful people are secretly causing harm can, paradoxically, be more comforting than accepting that terrible things can just happen for no reason. For someone feeling powerless, fighting against 5G becomes a way to reclaim agency. Finally, we have social motives. This is our need to belong and to see ourselves and our group in a positive light. Conspiracy theories are fantastic at building community. Believers see themselves as possessing special, suppressed knowledge that the ignorant masses, the sheeple, do not. This creates an incredibly strong in-group identity, a band of enlightened warriors fighting a hidden war. This is especially appealing to people who feel marginalized or ignored by mainstream society. It's linked to what psychologists call collective narcissism, the belief that your group is superior but isn't getting the recognition it deserves. By blaming a conspiring outgroup like big tech or the government, believers can maintain their positive self-image as virtuous victims. On top of these deep-seated needs, our brains are riddled with cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that, while usually helpful, can lead us down the rabbit hole of misinformation. The most powerful of these is confirmation bias. This is our tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information that confirms what we already believe, while ignoring or discrediting anything that contradicts it. Once a person starts to even suspect a link between 5G and illness, confirmation bias kicks in. They'll find the YouTube videos, the Facebook groups, and the blog posts that reinforce that belief. Social media algorithms then create a devastating feedback loop. They see you engaging with this content and show you more of it, creating an echo chamber where the conspiracy is constantly validated and dissenting views are never seen. Then there's proportionality bias. This is our gut feeling that big events must have equally big causes. The sheer scale of the global pandemic, the lockdowns, the economic collapse, the loss of life, feels disproportionate to its cause being a microscopic, naturally occurring virus. But a grand conspiracy, involving a powerful new technology being rolled out by global elites? That feels much more proportional to the scale of the crisis. It makes the elaborate conspiracy theory feel more psychologically satisfying than the mundane scientific truth. And let's not forget the illusory truth effect. Repetition breeds belief. When a false claim about 5G is shared and reposted millions of times across Twitter, Facebook, and WhatsApp, it starts to feel familiar. And our brains have a glitch where we often mistake that feeling of familiarity for a feeling of truthfulness. The more you hear the lie, the truer it seems, regardless of its source or veracity. But here's a fun fact. This panic itself is not new. In fact, it's the latest chapter in a long history of what we can call technological panics. Let's go way back. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates was famously worried about the invention of writing. He feared it would weaken people's memory and lead to a superficial, false understanding of knowledge, as they would be reading words without a teacher to guide them. Sound familiar? Fast forward to the 18th and 19th centuries. The rise of the printing press and the novel sparked widespread fears of reading mania, or reading sickness. Doctors and social critics worried it would cause moral decay, particularly in young women, leading to idleness and rebellion. When electricity was first piped into homes, public fear was rampant. People were afraid of being electrocuted in their sleep. Some believed it was a mysterious, sinister force. There is a vivid account from 1890 of a family who believed they were being poisoned with the electric light. Then came radio. The invisible radio waves suddenly filling the air in the 1920s and 30s led to radiophobia. By the 1940s, studies were expressing concern that children were becoming addicted to radio dramas and that it was ruining their minds and schoolwork. All these panics share common threads with the 5G narrative. They often target invisible forces, writing's effect on the mind, radio waves, electromagnetic fields that are not easily understood by the public. They prey on anxieties about health, safety, and the unnatural, and they're fueled by a deep distrust of the experts and institutions promoting the new thing. It's what one researcher calls the Sisyphean cycle of technology panics. With each new wave of technology, we push the same boulder of fear and suspicion up the hill, seemingly forgetting we've done it all before. So if the fear is old, why did the 5G panic become so intense and violent? The answer lies in our modern digital ecosystem. Platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter acted as rocket fuel. Anti-5G groups on Facebook became toxic echo chambers, sometimes actively encouraging violence. One analysis called them a toxic cocktail of far-right activists, anti-vaxxers, and general government distrust, often laced with other extremist content. Before they cracked down, YouTube's recommendation algorithm was a major engine for this, pushing videos from self-proclaimed experts to millions of people. And this wasn't just organic, it was amplified. A small number of influential figures, including celebrities, gave the theories a huge platform. An Oxford University study found that while public figures created only about 20% of the misinformation about the coronavirus, their posts accounted for a staggering 69% of all social media engagement. Their share lent a false veneer of credibility. There's also evidence of coordinated disinformation. Researchers identified bot-like accounts amplifying the narrative, and Russian state media, particularly RT, had been running a sustained anti-5G campaign since at least 2016, running stories suggesting it could be a global catastrophe. This created a fertile ground of fear that was easily co-opted when the pandemic began. But how does this online belief translate into real-world arson? For most, it doesn't. But for a minority, the belief system triggers a psychological process that leads to action. A key study from Northumbria University found a direct link between belief in 5G conspiracy theories and state anger, intense, temporary bursts of rage. This anger, in turn, was linked to a greater willingness to justify and commit violence. This effect was strongest in people who also scored high on paranoia, not a clinical diagnosis, but the belief that a hostile force is directed personally at them. When you believe the conspiracy isn't just harming society, but is a direct threat to you and your family, the motivation to fight back becomes overwhelming. These deeply held beliefs can become what experts call extreme overvalued beliefs. They become central to a person's identity, are shared by their subculture, and, crucially, are more likely to lead to morally justified action than clinical delusions. Online groups act as radicalizing multipliers, normalizing the idea that violence is not just an option, but a necessary and righteous response. The arsonist doesn't see themselves as a vandal. They see themselves as a protector of humanity, a freedom fighter taking down the enemy's weapon. And the damage is very real. By April of 2020, the UK had already seen over 50 arson attacks on cell towers and 80 incidents of engineers being harassed. In the Netherlands, 16 towers were torched. Attacks followed in Ireland, Belgium, Canada, and the United States. The tragic irony is that many of these towers weren't even 5G enabled. They were existing 3G and 4G masts that people relied on for daily communication and, most critically, for emergency services. One tower that was set on fire in the UK provided connectivity to a field hospital built to treat coronavirus patients. The very people the conspiracists claimed to be protecting were the ones being put in danger. So how do we combat this? It's a formidable challenge. Simply debunking with facts often backfires, as the belief system is built on a foundation of distrust for facts and experts. We need smarter, psychologically informed strategies. One of the most promising is called inoculation theory. Think of it as a vaccine against misinformation. Instead of debunking a specific lie after it's spread, you pre-bunk by preemptively exposing people to a weakened form of the manipulative techniques used in propaganda. This means teaching people how to spot emotional manipulation, how to identify fake experts, how to deconstruct flawed logic, and how to recognize conspiracy thinking. Studies show this technique-based approach acts like a broad-spectrum vaccine, helping people resist a wide range of misinformation. When dealing with someone already deep in the belief system, a confrontational approach is useless. It just makes them dig in their heels. The key is empathy. Listen to their concerns. Acknowledge their fear and anxiety without validating the false information. Ask open-ended questions that encourage them to think critically, like what kind of evidence would convince you otherwise? Or apuharach bin miko. How can we tell the difference between a real conspiracy and a theory? Apuslicha apuchasafta thali, mafet thali, nachasacha rachara apuhi, king riara dahafa. Nachachachacha rachachara apuhi, mafet thali, king rite riara, apusla, machachara apuslichachachara apula nature of their beliefs. Ultimately, the burned-out husks of cell towers are a stark reminder that misinformation isn't just a debate on the internet. It has a real-world cost. The fight against it is a psychological one, requiring a deep understanding of our own minds. It's a call to action to not only rebuild what's been broken, but to build a more resilient, empathetic, and informed society, one mind at a time.